Taking a look at the parietal lobe, we're going to be discussing the parts and functions of the parietal lobe. Now, most importantly, the parietal lobe is divided into three. We have the somatosensory cortex, the sensory association cortex, and the Wernicke's area. And I'm going to be discussing that. I'm going to be explaining that with this diagram here. All right. So we know that there is a separation between the frontal lobe and the parietal lobe, right? And that separation is called the central sulcus. And wherever you have a sulcus, you must have a gyra, isn't it? All right, so you have the gyra posterior of the central sulcus. So the gyra posterior of the central sulcus is what we call the sensory somatosensory cortex. So this part is what we call the somatosensory cortex. All right, so we're going to be stating that down here. Somatosensory cortex. All right, now what's the function of the somatosensory cortex? It is responsible for letting us feel pain, pressure, temperature, and proprioception. Now, proprioception is just an awareness of a position, an awareness of the position of the body. So if your hands are up, you are aware that your hands are up. Even though your eyes are closed, you can be aware that your hands are up. You can be aware that your hands are down. Okay, so that is proprioception. This part of the parietal lobe plays key function in proprioception. All right, now let's state out the functions they play. So we said pain, pressure, temperature, proprioception, which is awareness of position. All right. Now, the somatosensory cortex also play role in things like feeling the weight, the size, or the texture of an object. All right. So it plays role in judgment. So it helps you to feel a particular thing. So imagine this is something and you don't know what it is. Probably your eyes are closed, but you can feel that, oh, this is cylindrical in nature. It is rough at some points. It is slicky at some points. And also, it is not that heavy. All right. So it is the somatosensory cortex that helps you to make judgment of that. Okay. But you do not know what this is. All right. So it helps you to make judgment like weight of objects, size of objects, texture of objects. Now, before I move forward, it is very important to know that you can have large sections of the parietal lobe designed or built to respond to certain parts of the body. Okay, that means that there are some parts of the body that has large distribution of sensory neurons. For example, the face, the lips, and other sensory parts. Now, that is where we have the 2-point discrimination test, where if you place 2 points on certain parts of the body, the person may be able to feel that it is just 1 point. And in that particular part, that means that the sensory neurons are not really there. They are there, but they are not really packed. Okay. Now, if I place these 2 points at the back of somebody, you may be able to feel that it is just 1 point. Or if I place it at your elbow, you may be able to feel that it's just 1 point. But if I place it on your face, where you have more of this sensory cortex or these sensory neurons, you'll be able to feel that it is 2 points, even though the points are very close. So that is the 2 point discrimination test. Okay, so there are parts that are heavily mapped out for sensory informations in the parietal cortex. Okay, now that is that for the sensory cortex. Now the next we're going to look at is what we call the sensory association cortex. So the sensory association cortex, let's label that here. Sensory association cortex. All right. So what's the function of the sensory association cortex? The sensory association cortex just gathers information from different parts of the brain and different parts of the body as well, and also previous knowledge to give meaning to what you have been able to feel, touch, and make certain judgments. Okay. Now, if you feel something, you feel the texture, you feel the weight, it is the sensory association cortex that will be able to tell you that, oh, this is a marker. Okay, based on the information you have gotten from the somatosensory cortex, that, oh, it is like this, it is slicky, it is rough at some point, and then previous knowledge that, oh, I have seen this thing before, this is a marker. Okay, so this should be a marker. So it uses previous knowledge, it uses other parts of the brain, other information from other parts of the brain to actually give meaning or process a particular information. So it basically helps in identification. So the sensory association cortex helps to identify objects. All right. Now, there is a part very close to the sensory association cortex. It is a sulcus actually. And you know, when you have a sulcus, you have the gyrus. Now, this first gyrus is what we call the supramarginal gyrus. So the supramarginal gyrus, it has its function. What's the supramarginal gyrus? It helps us to be aware of posture and position. So we have supramarginal gyrus, position slash posture. Now it helps us to be aware of position, our position and posture. And not just our position, it also helps us to be aware of the position and posture of the other person. Okay, so if someone comes with a warm gesture of maybe hugging you, you should be able to know that, oh, this position or this posture mean that this person wants to give me a hug. But if someone comes with a gesture of, you know that, oh, this person is ready for a fight, and then you should be able to restrain and think of what to do next. All right, so that is the function of the supramarginal gyrus. Okay, now we also have this one. This is called the angular gyrus. Now the angular gyrus work hand in hand with the third part of the parietal lobe, which is the Wernicke's area. Wernicke's area. The Wernicke's area. Now the Wernicke's area play function in interpretation and identification of written speech, okay, or written text. So let's write that down. Interpretation of written text. Also identification of written text. All right. So the angular gyrus also helps in interpretation of written texts. Angular gyrus. All right. Now, the Wernicke's area is found here. Now, some people would explain the Wernicke's area when they're talking about the temporal lobe, and that is because the Wernicke's area enters both the temporal lobe and the parietal lobe. So you can find the Wernicke's area in the parietal lobe, and you can also find it in the temporal lobe. All right. So this is just a quick run through on the parietal lobe. Thank you, and see you in my next video.